Okay.
So in June, Mary and I decided to go on a kind of spontaneous trip to Washington, where we mapped out, with the help of adventure cycling, a route through Washington. And we had 10 days. And so we filled those 10 days to the max and had an amazing trip. And so we're just going to go through some photos from the trip. And if you have any questions about packing or places, let us know. So this photo here is from Mount Rainier National Park, and we'll dive right in.
Okay. Hopefully everyone can hear us okay. If not, just let us know in the chat. Okay. Thanks, Eva. All right. Okay, so Laura put some stats together for the trip because she's the engineer and I am not.
So we did about 710 miles total with 26,000 feet of elevation gain. We had 4 big mountain passes throughout the trip, and then just a variety of rolling hills and all kinds of different landscapes. We went through, like, one point, me and Mary were like, this is Mars. And then another point, we're like, this is the freaking jungle of, like, the Amazon. It was so crazy, the different terrains we saw. Through the different national parks, state parks. We camped 8 of the nights and got hotels 2 of the nights. We had all kinds of fun winery and brewery stops and little stops in towns.
Definitely 3 river baths.
We definitely took some baths in the river. And at the end of the trip, we got to island hop, as I like to call it, and rode some ferries through the islands. And that was, I mean, we got a little bit of everything.
So to give you an idea of where we went, we flew into Seattle, and we're from South Carolina, by the way. We're from Greenville, South Carolina. So we happened to both have time off at the same time and decided to just carpe diem with this trip. And we found a really great direct flight from Atlanta to Seattle. So Seattle, this was doable in part because I really like to fly into airports and bike right out of the airport. So that was definitely doable in Seattle. And so we used the Washington parks too. If you go to the adventure cycling site, if you want this map, you're looking for part 2 for this part. And part 1 is the Olympic Peninsula, and we would have done that had we had more time.
Yeah, next time.
If Laura had more time off. So next time, definitely the Olympic. If you can combine them, I would just recommend them. I mean, this whole section is gorgeous. But if you have 10 days, then Washington Parks too was really, really fantastic. So we just kind of made up our own way here from Seattle down to about Elbe, I believe it was, where we got onto the adventure cycling map, and then we followed this loop all the way around. And then once we got to Cedar Woolley, then we started the island hopping, like Laura was saying. And Laura just really took this into her own hands, so major props to you. I was just kind of like, hey, for once I don't have to plan my own trip. This is great. Which got me into a couple of predicaments, which I'll get to in a little bit. But this is basically our route that we took. Good? Yeah, okay. So like I said, we got on a plane. Flying in COVID times is not a total walk in the park, but especially it being June at the time. But everything went really smoothly. And then, let's see. Why would it change? My goodness. Okay, sorry, my slides froze. Okay, so once we got to the airport, our bikes arrived safe. I always like to fly with my bike whenever I can. You can ship it on bike flights. So if you have any questions about that, we can go into more detail. But flying with your bike eliminates the issue of any shipping worries. If you're flying internationally, I've done this before. So if you're coming from Canada or something like that, apparently your bike can get held up in customs. So it's always been recommended to me to fly with it, and now I try to do that whenever possible.
So someone asked if the traffic out of Seattle was pretty bad, but luckily we had some, it wasn't bad, and we managed, I think because it was like a Saturday at around 5 or 6 p.m., the traffic wasn't bad, and And since the airport was actually very empty because of COVID, we had the whole airport to ourselves, which was very nice.
Yeah, so that might have been unusually light traffic, but I will say once you get past like this initial exit from Seattle, we just took the lane and you weren't on it for more than like this type of road in the picture there on the right for what, more than like half a mile?
Yeah, then we instantly got into some back road neighborhoods.
Some neighborhood roads, and Seattle has a lot of bike lanes. So
many bike lanes.
Yeah. So I would absolutely do it again, even if it wasn't COVID times. I felt fine. Yeah. And I put this little picture of this tool because if you are thinking about bike travel and you haven't packed up your own bike before, this is pretty much the tool that does 99% of the work. It's like a 2, 4, 6, 8, I think, size Allen wrench. So I can get my pedals on and off. I can get my headset. I can like take my bike apart basically with this Allen wrench, and it's just really convenient and it has great torque. So I like it even more than a multi-tool. And it has that big Allen wrench for my pedals. So just wanted to put a plug in for that because it saved my butt a couple times. So, and then the airport does have like a little bike area. The pump didn't work, which was unfortunate because I had to like deal with my tire, as an aside, but, they have like a little tool stand and like a basic like bike area. It's in the baggage claim at Seattle Airport. So, it's pretty bike friendly place. And then someone has asked me before what I do with my bike box, and I just leave it. We just left it in the airport.
We talked to some airport officials, and they let us throw it in a place to throw it out.
So I think we just left it near some trash cans. Mm-hmm. We let someone know we were doing that, so they didn't get like the bomb squad called in on us or anything like that. So all right, so that's the airport.
We gotta go faster.
I don't know. It's like a lag. Okay, sorry. It's taking a minute to change.
So after the airport, we went and camped by the coast for the first night. So this was kind of, Seattle had these great bike paths, so we could really easily get around Seattle. And so we camped the first night, and it was awesome. I think you have more photos of it.
I don't. It was Saltwater State Park Campground. So it's only like 9 miles, and it is right on the water.
We were just so thrilled to see the ocean. Yeah. And we got there for sunset, so it was really exciting.
Yeah, and they had a great little campsite set up. I think it was like $25 for
super cheap
for the site. So,
and then after that, we started the really big mileage days, and so that next day we got up early and made our way to Mount Rainier. We did stop for brunch, and that was lovely.
And Sumner is a really cute town, so if you're doing what we did and making your way down south, then I just wanted to put a plug in for this really cute town.
Small little town.
Still remember those tots; they were great. And so they have this mural that I put in here because I just love this. It was super cloudy that day, and we were a little bummed day ones, like setting up, where we're like, okay, we know it's gonna rain tomorrow. We were like just moving as fast as we could to see what mileage we could get in. We didn't really know which campground we were going to end up at that night, but we weren't sure we were going to actually see Mount Rainier. So we loved this mural that said, "Live like the mountain is out." And as we were going into Mount Rainier, thankfully things changed and the heavens parted. And if my slides will move, I can show you what I mean. But we went through a few towns. Now, because of COVID, I will mention we had a little bit of issues finding fuel. I remember at this part of the trip, we were like, okay, we're getting on the adventure cycling route. We like turned out the first like 50 miles of, nothing like, it wasn't parks or anything.
To get out of the suburbs and into the real backcountry more feeling.
I don't know why it won't change. So let me. Okay. Oh, sorry. There you go. Okay.
There we go.
I didn't want to.
So we got super lucky, and at about like 7 p.m., the mountain appeared, which you can see Mary pointing at here, and we were just, I don't like to use the word blessed, but we were super blessed, and it just was the most beautiful view of the mountain. And since neither of us had seen it before, we felt extra lucky.
Yeah, and if you've ever taken pictures from your bike, the vistas in the picture is nothing like seeing it in person, of course. It's
such a
full on
massive
freak out mode. It was
and there's a
great.
few more photos of the park in general. We rode straight through the park, up and over a mountain pass, and it was just amazing.
And the grade, I think, was like super reasonable on all of this. The grade was like 6%.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. There's such beautiful waterfalls and like epic views, like big rivers.
Really, really pretty. And where we live in near the Blue Ridge Parkway is like much steeper climbs, so we're used to much steeper climbs. We just kind of kept going at this point. We're like on a new like high from seeing Mount Rainier. So day one ended up
very high mileage. Was around 115 miles. Because we didn't want to camp at the top of the mountain pass, so we just kept going until we got up and over it.
Yes, and there was a lot of snow at the top of those mountain passes, and this is where I mentioned, I'm going to go back for a second because this is where I'm going to mention, I thought it'd be really cool to do like a minimalist bike packing setup. And this rain jacket here on top of my front pack here is the warmest thing I had. So, that was fine for for most of the days where like the highs were in the 70s and the lows at night were in the 50s. Like it was fine. But the top of the mountain passes, there's like 6 feet of snow. I'll show you a picture in a second. So that was entertaining. But because we were like moving all the way to the top, really just the descents were cold. If you're packing for this trip, I would have brought more layers had I really realized. I think someone's getting in. No? Yep. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of like my basic setup. This is more of a bike packing setup. You could definitely do this trip on a touring setup with panniers. We just didn't feel like we really needed that much. We like shared a stove, and we knew that we would not be like too far out of civilization either. So balancing that with wanting to carry, you can tell I was carrying a lot of water on this trip. This is a model bottle, MODL, and then I have like regular bottles as well. So that was kind of like my hydration setup. I was clearly a lot more concerned about hydration than I was about being warm, but it worked out. So if you have any specific packing questions for this trip, just throw them in the chat box and we can talk about packing maybe later on. So we really lucked out. We had these like beautiful wide open roads. I can't speak to non-COVID times. Traffic was definitely way down in June, and things were just opening up when we got there. So I do have to say we got really lucky. Usually when I go in national parks, if I know that there's going to be like really good vistas, I try to time it so that I'm there really, really early in the morning where there's like very little traffic, like before 8 a.m. when like RVs and people start driving around. So if you want views like this, go early in the morning.
Or late at night, like we did.
Or, yeah, this was actually sunset.
This was actually evening time.
Yeah, this was sunset. So that's the second best time to go is sunset. But yeah, when I biked around like Yellowstone and stuff, that's my tip is try to stay out of like mid-morning and mid-afternoon because those can be really heavy traffic times. Again, we were super, super lucky and we had these amazing sunset views and we ended up, I think, about 114 miles the first day.
Yep.
That was not our intention, but we just felt like we needed to just take advantage of the weather, and we knew that meant that day 2 would be really, really short. So I'm not really recommending that you take a 114-mile day. It's just what happened.
Yeah.
So that was definitely just like a kind of once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see Mount Rainier at sunset and have that kind of a day. We also knew that it was going to start to rain the next day. So it was kind of misting for most of it, but we went over Chinook Pass. So it was fine on the climb on Chinook Pass. And then when we descended, it was really, really cold.
It was actually snowing a little bit at the top.
Where is the picture?
I think
I have a
But at the
picture
top
somewhere
there
of the
was
snow.
about a 6-foot snowbank, so we stopped and took a quick picture and then continued on. And
There it is.
Okay.
There's the snowbank. This is Chinook Pass.
Luckily, at the bottom there was French fries
Yes.
and a lodge in the middle of nowhere, and so we decided to stay there. And it was like $40 a night, and we were the only ones there that night, so we had the time of our lives.
Yeah. So thankfully we made it to Whistling Jacks. So end of day 2 is only 40 miles, but we were really cold and a little like damp at this point.
Yeah.
So when we found this place is amazing. They had a hot
It's
tub.
so amazing.
And I put this picture in just to say we got all like our gear like dried out, our tents were wet and stuff like that. So it was just like the perfect thing. It's only day 2, but we already needed to dip into a hotel just because of the weather that we ran into day 2. So and I think this place was like $60 a night. So
Yeah,
it was kind of like no brainer. So and they had French fries.
Yeah.
So everything was fine. Yeah, and then starting with day 3, once we got like out of the mountains again, like what Laura was saying about the terrain changing was just like incredible. You felt like you're in another planet all of a sudden.
Yeah, we started getting over onto the eastern side of the mountains at this point, where it's more orchards and like farmland, but still rolling hills, and it was just beautiful, as you can see here. I think, do you have more of them?
Yeah.
And then just like different areas like this. This is a photo of the cherry trees. They were everywhere and just happened to be in perfect bloom when we were there. So we got very lucky.
Yeah.
So we snagged a few of those. And then it was like this is a photo. There's a big hop farm on the left. So there's just all kinds of crops growing. And it was just really fun to like weave our way through the orchard lands and such beautiful countryside that you didn't really, maybe most people don't really know that Washington has all that to offer.
Yeah. And again, this was like middle of June, so the temperatures were very comfortable. They were like
usually just wearing a light jacket or something like that.
Yeah, it was in like the 70s, highs in the 70s for most of these days, I believe. So part of this trip, as you're going through these little towns, Yakima Canyon, everyone was kind of telling us about that we ran into along the way. And I think you can see, was it mountain goats or bighorn sheep? Bighorn sheep, I think. We didn't see any. We weren't that lucky, but it's the views in this canyon are definitely incredible. Like I was saying before, like a picture doesn't really even do it justice. But you just like wind your way, and really through this whole middle section, once you're out of the mountain passes, everything feels pretty flat. I mean, maybe rolling hills. But
I mean,
comparatively to the mountain passes, you feel like, oh, this is a walking park. So
still hills.
Yeah, and there's tons of little towns along the way. As we exited the canyon and we're getting towards Ellensburg, we went to the Ellensburg Canyon Winery.
There just happened to be a winery right there, so we had to stop.
Yeah,
and it was wonderful.
Support local.
Yeah,
these local businesses are definitely needing all of the safe tourism that can come through to support them. So there's some really great wine. The wines, if you're into wine, the wine was like a lot of like Riesling and like sweeter wines, because that's the type of grape that grows in Washington.
Lots of fruit.
About the extent of my wine expertise, but it tasted good.
Yeah.
So and then we made it to Ellensburg.
Yeah, our first big city. We got to have some bougie beers and bike shops and burritos.
Yeah.
Living it up. We did camp in Ellensburg that night right on the river, and it was really pretty.
Yeah, and I got my bike tuned up because it was making a noise the entire way until we got to Ellensburg. And so I was so relieved to see this bike shop. But it's really cool. If you stop in Ellensburg, I just like bike shops.
Great bike shop.
This one was really cool. They had plants. So yeah.
Oh, there's our campsite that night.
Yeah, so we stayed at a KOA in Ellensburg, so the camping was more limited. I think we'd normally have more like warm showers options. We didn't do any warm showers this trip, just because of COVID, and some of the campsites were closed. So we still had enough options, even in June, where a lot of stuff was just starting to open back up. But I think just in terms of our mileage, we kept it flexible and we just rolled. I think we called ahead to the KOA and just found this spot. It's pretty.
Worked out really nice though.
Yeah. I usually prefer like a steep park or something, but
this one was pretty nice.
It was acceptable. Okay. So exiting, I have to say, exiting Ellensburg. So the next morning we went to an IHOP, and it was
Perkins or Bob Evans. It was Bob Evans. I had pie for breakfast. That's the only reason I remember.
It was an IHOP equivalent. And
Perkins, Bob Evans.
Okay, our waitress told us, oh, well, you're going to have some wind going out of Ellensburg.
Everyone talked about the wind.
Keep in mind, we're doing this loop, the Washington Parks loop. We're doing it in a counterclockwise direction. So going north from Ellensburg, she said, oh, you're going to have some wind. And I don't know why I did that. So she said, oh, yeah, you're going to have some wind. And we're like, oh, okay, well, we
found the wind.
We didn't know.
We found the wind. It was brutal, but we battled our way through it.
Yeah.
For it felt like we were pedaling so slow. We pedaled, and then finally we got through the wind, and we got to this amazing.
I'm not done. Let me talk about this wind for a second. I'm talking about a 17, 18 mile per hour headwind.
Yeah.
So this was a when we say we were pedaling and not moving forward, just be prepared for that. We suddenly were like, oh, I don't know if we can do a 60, 70 mile day. It's kind of what we were aiming for, by the way. Our average, maybe if we had an average
70
day,
was our average, hopefully.
At least 70. So when you spend the first hour going 4 miles, it's a little disheartening. So just FYI, prevailing winds. If you're doing this in June, I don't know, maybe I would do it in the other direction. No.
I don't think it matters. I think
you could do it either way. Just
there's some wind.
If you were either or, which way to go on your trip, and you were going in June, I would just maybe go south to Ellensburg, and you would not have to pedal for 20 miles. It would be amazing. Okay, so Blewett Pass. There on that map, on the adventure cycling map, there's an alternate. Don't take the alternate. Go on Blewett Pass. It is incredible. You have to do it. It is a climb, but then you get a descent. I mean,
it's also epic because it's an abandoned road. So all the traffic takes the other highway, and this is now just a kind of a old road that people take as a long scenic route. But we saw 4 cars. I mean, it was amazing, and it's this one lane kind of road through the mountains.
Yeah, it winds its way, and it's super
absolutely
beautiful.
Stunning.
Yeah, that one.
So that was our third pass of the trip.
Oh yeah, I guess it was. Yep. And then we got back out and back. This is the Yakima River, Columbia River.
Yeah.
Yes, Columbia River.
We took a bath in there one day.
Yeah,
and it was lovely.
And this is close to Wenatchee?
Yeah.
Or the other one?
Wenatchee.
Okay. So when you're getting close to Wenatchee, there was more traffic. There's big shoulders, so we were perfectly comfortable. But this, was the part that we were like, well, let's just get through this part. And I feel on every bike tour I do, there is a part where it's let's just get these miles done. It was still really pretty, but the traffic kind of takes away from it when you're getting spoiled by things like Blewett Pass. And then you have to follow a highway for a while. So then this is when we were coming up to Winthrop, I think. I mean, it's you kind of get on and off of the highway, and you kind of have to pay attention to the adventure cycling maps. By the way, they have a mobile app version of their maps that I follow along with, and that was a lot easier to navigate. So I really have to put a plug in for adventure cycling. The bike routes, they have oh my goodness, maybe Eva can pipe in the chat. Eva, if you can tell us what the name of the app is for the bicycle navigation, route navigator. It's something like that, sorry. But it works on airplane mode. I download the map. It's $10 for the map, and I can just follow along. It's really handy on this part, especially.
Bicycle Route Nation.
Navigator.
Bicycle
Route Navigator. Thank you. Okay. So the maps will take you off of the main road when it can, and you can go on like a parallel road. You might go through like an orchard or something pretty, and so it just takes you off of that higher traffic road for a little bit. So you go on like little bridges like this, and I mean the scenery, even when you're on a big road, it's really, really beautiful.
It was really fun because I felt like a lot of the trip we were following a lot of different waterways.
Yes.
And so we would follow the Columbia River for a long time, and then we'd follow different different rivers through different valleys, and that was cool to just kind of.
Yeah. So I brought a water filter, and I never felt like I needed, to carry a whole lot of water, which was nice. Had to put this one in there because you said we stopped at 6 bakeries. I don't think that's possible. I think we stopped at a bakery every day of the trip.
We had a mission to find all the best bakeries in Washington, and I am going to say mission accomplished. Like we found some dang good bakeries.
Yeah. So if you want the full list of bakeries,
let us know. Yeah, we now are the best
scoop.
Bakery tasters in Washington.
But they've got some like seriously good stuff in the state, which we needed because by the time we made it to
there's some days you get tired and you need more bakeries.
And we just made it to Winthrop, and I was trying to tell Laura, like, we're so close to beer. Like,
I was so hungry.
You just need another 2 miles. You can do it. But she didn't believe me, so she laid down, and I tried.
But this was like the best bridge I've ever taken a mini power nap on.
Yeah.
But it was super beautiful. This was when we were starting to enter the Matau River Valley, which was one of my favorite parts of the trip. And had some very old school places that were so beautiful.
Winthrop is cool. A lot of people were asking us at this point if we had gone to that side. I cannot remember the name of that town.
Oh, Leavenworth.
Leavenworth. Everyone was asking us if we'd been to Leavenworth, which I think is like Winthrop.
I think we should go to Leavenworth next time we do this.
Okay. Well, apparently we're going to Leavenworth. What I was trying to say about Winthrop is that it's like, this gives you kind of an idea. It's like this old Western style town, and you walk into it, and it's like you're on a movie set. It's kind of like the Williamsburg, Virginia of the West, I would call it. It's really beautiful. Fun. So we didn't spend a whole lot of time there, but
we had a really good hamburger at this brewery.
We had a good veggie burger.
Yeah,
and so the beer was great. So.
And then we continued on our way.
So we went a little bit further. We went through Mazama, and then right past Mazama, we stayed at Early Winters Campground. There are a few campgrounds along this stretch. If you look up Early Winters, that's just where we stayed. This was probably my favorite campsite. It's a U.S. Forest Service. It is first come, first serve. So we rolled in there around 7.
Yeah, it was evening.
It was after dinner. And all the sites were full, but thankfully this really nice couple saw us on our bikes, and they were like, "Hey, you can use the corner of our campsite." So
they were very friendly.
They were awesome. And
this was on the corner of this huge river lookout, and it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, really, really pretty.
Yeah. So the next morning, we actually woke up and we had our last big mountain pass, probably one of the biggest of the trip. And we were cutting through North Cascades National Park. And so we went up and up and up. And as you can see, here's some photos going through Cascades. We actually had pushed our itinerary pretty hard because we knew the weather was going to be really good this day. And as you can see, we lucked out and had amazing weather biking through the Cascades. And so this is almost the top of the pass.
More snow, but I don't remember it being cold.
No, it was, and it's called Washington Pass. And there's the top. We made it up there. And then we had an epic, we stopped at the top for a little hike adventure.
Well, it was actually past the top.
Yeah.
It was Rainier. And we had a couple, there was Blue Lake, there were a couple of side, because it's a national park, there are different side hikes that you can take that are only a couple miles. Because of time and how the day was going, we decided to do one, and we went with Rainy Lake, and I can't imagine it being better. Can't tell you what Blue Lake is, but I mean, it was insanely gorgeous. We did have to hike through the snow. If you go in July and August in peak season, there's actually a path, and it's a super easy hike. I think it's even ADA accessible. It's
it was 2 miles or less.
Yeah, if that. I think it was maybe a mile or mile and a half each way. So
that was a fun little break for our legs to hike, and we could ice bath in the lake.
Yeah, it's a glacial lake, so super, super beautiful. So
yeah. And then we kept continuing down, and little did we know that we found this. So the river here is dammed, and it creates this Ross recreation area, and there's a lake that's formed from the dams. But because of the glacier feed, it makes the water super blue, and it was just we showed up here and we didn't know what we were running into, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, so if you see pictures of like Lake Louise and like Pito Lake and things around Banff and Alberta, Canada, this is like the same.
Yeah, because we were like 20 miles from Canada at this point. This is the very northern point of our
my
circle.
Phone thought I was in Canada.
Yeah, her phone like switched over to Canada mode.
T-Mobile, whatever. So this was incredibly beautiful, and the descent just like went on. Like it was exhausting.
Yeah, actually exhausting.
It just went on and on, but it was incredibly gorgeous. Yeah. And then once you get to the bottom around Concrete is where it like flattens out. There is this little gravel section. It's optional. You don't have to do it.
Oh, you have to do it.
I mean, even if you're on a road bike, it's like super flat, super doable.
We found like this 25-mile, it's a gravel path through the woods, and it's absolutely stunning.
You found that on Google Maps?
Yeah. What was it called? It has a name.
Oh, I should have put this in there.
Yeah. Oh. You can find it. It goes right to Concrete to Cedro Woolley.
Yes. If you look on Google Maps, it should show up as as on their trails.
A really cool gravel bike path.
And I'm sure once Adventure Cycling like updates their next map, it'll be on there. But I mean, it
was on there as an option.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Never mind. It's on there already. Yeah. So
it's on there.
Do that. It's super pretty. Obviously, no cars. It was.
Yep.
We were a little sad to leave the mountains. So
we were getting sad here because we were just leaving the mountains. But then there's like an excitement about getting closer and closer to the coast too.
Yeah. So you can still see the Cascades as you're entering this like super flat valley.
Yeah.
And getting like closer to Cedro Woolley. So there are these little towns along the way, and we're like, oh, civilization, but it was
we survived.
We had more.
We found strawberries. I loved the fresh fruit stand. So I could smell the strawberries in the fields, and then we found a fruit stand, and it was amazing.
Yeah. That was great. So
this was we've been camping for like the last 4 or 5 nights. Found some really nice campsites, and then we finally made it to the coast in this little town called La Conner, and that's where we showed up at Hotel Planter. And what a cool little inn. Just a little local inn with like 9 rooms, but they had great accommodations to keep our bikes in a locked area, and we got to tour this little historic town. And we kind of treated ourselves to a nice dinner, and
that was nice. It was just like, well, we're back in civilization, so use it.
Yeah.
In the frame. Okay.
And then we continue. Oh, there's La Conner. There was a nice sunset that night.
Yeah, La Conner is really, really cute, and they're another town. And Hotel Planter was really neat, really historic.
Would recommend.
Definitely would recommend. It's like a very like cool like B&B place, and we were determined not to find like just whatever hotel. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna spend a little more and find something cool and cute, and this fit the bill.
Place definitely.
And it was still like very reasonable, like 100 or something.
Yeah, definitely 100. I think it was like 100.
It's a little more than a motel would be. So it was great. Yeah. And they really, really need tourism. So this is a little town that normally, they have one of the biggest tulip festivals in the world in this place. Like, this is the most fertile valley, I think, in the U.S. at least. They had farms everywhere, and apparently in April, which of course was ruined this year because of COVID, people come from all over the world to see the tulip fields. So if you're nearby in April, wow. If you go in April, definitely see the tulips. I would go back to see the tulips because it sounds amazing. And so it's just nice to be able to support. Oh, my earrings! I thought my earrings got there. That was an accident.
She thought I was there.
Maybe.
Couldn't keep her out of the shop.
No, I was just like, I'm just going to go buy stuff now. Okay. All right. So leaving La Conner, this is where we started island hopping. Right?
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
This was like the mega bridge of all bridges, like a boardwalk. There was like blue herons and cranes everywhere. So,
and this is where we were making our own route. So I saw this on the map and was like, well, let's go up towards Anacortes. So this is leaving once you cross over.
We're going into Fidalgo Island.
Thank you. So from Fidalgo Island, this is this huge boardwalk path. It'll, again, show up on, if you turn on bicycling on Google Maps, you'll see like all of like the bike routes, and this comes up as a trail because it's a pedestrian bike bridge. And then we got on the ferry.
Yeah, the ferries were very fun, very bike friendly, and very easy to navigate. Super easy to show up, pay like a few bucks, get on the ferry.
Yeah.
Oh, we stopped for ice cream.
This is Port Townsend.
Yeah, so this is the town of Port Townsend.
Very cool.
The islands are cool because they have a lot of really historic towns. And so we just kind of like tootled around there.
Yeah. Got ice cream, of course.
Yeah, first ice cream of the trip, actually.
Like the best meal of my life, which I didn't put on here, but they have really good restaurants there too. I got Indian poutine. It was like a poutine with curry.
The food.
Yeah, this is mostly just about the food we ate. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then we had a gorgeous last day on the islands, like the bluebird skies, and we were in heaven. We were at Bainbridge Island at this point. And then we took a little detour. And do you remember that state park? It was a state park.
This state park on the left was just south of Port Townsend. So we actually, that was on Hip Camp. We found a place on Hip Camp to stay. That was interesting. So also just COVID tip. If you can't find campsites, definitely check Hip Camp, HIP, camp.com. It's I think it's like owned by Airbnb, but there are people who like rent out their like farmland kind of areas. You can find like really funky, cool places to camp. And this lady, shoot, I wish I had pictures. She had like
75 chickens.
Like 75 chickens. Yeah.
So we woke up and there was just chickens all around us. And I was like, oh, this is new.
It was super cool. And she had rabbits.
But yeah, they were cute. And the best sheepdog.
Yeah. So on our way to that place, which was south of Port Townsend, you could probably find it on Hip Camp. It was like maybe 7 miles, and we dipped into this little state park nearby.
Got some single track in.
Yeah, just for fun. That was just super, super pretty.
Yeah, really cool.
We were kind of like trying to grab all the last minutes of our.
We just never wanted this trip to end. Really.
Yeah.
More bakeries, more beautiful island hopping.
Paul's Bow. So Paul's Bow is a cool little place. It is like a little Viking town. It's like modeled after like a traditional Scandinavian town because it's settled by immigrants. They have a really great bakery. Just plug that one again. And really cute little place. And again, more scenery as you left there. Then you can start seeing the Olympic Peninsula, and so you can see like the profile of the mountains in the distance. And I was like, let's just go over there. Yeah, and then we were on Bainbridge Island, so then it was time to get another ferry back to Seattle.
And then we had completed our loop. Yes. And this is crazy. So this photo, I mean, I've been to Seattle once before, and you couldn't even get a photo here because there's so many people. So to get a photo at the market with no other people in it,
it just requires a global pandemic.
Yeah,
so.
It was just a very but we were being safe and we got lucky. I mean, we spent very little time in the cities, and there's Mount Rainier from afar. So it's cool to make the loop and see where it started.
Yeah, it was super awesome to wrap up there. And we got some time biking around the city. There are like really cool areas. We I guess just asked the local bike shop where we packed up our bikes what they would recommend. We went to the Gasworks Park. We went, oh my gosh, what's the
Mercer
name?
Island.
Thank you, Mercer Island. We did the loop.
We toured all around the city on our last day, and
we left all our stuff at that bike shop.
Yeah, we found the troll under the bridge.
Yeah, troll.
And the city was, like we said at the beginning, we were so impressed by how bike friendly it was.
Yeah, and it was. Way super traffic.
Yeah, true.
So,
but still, bike lanes were very well managed.
Definitely. Coming from South Carolina, we were real impressed with the big city.
Yeah.
So,
and then unfortunately we had to leave. So we built our we packed up our bikes in this alley, there's a bike shop in this alley, and they were super friendly. Packed them up, and then we had to like carry our bikes like quarter of a mile to the light rail, and the light rail took us back to the airport. So that was how we concluded our trip. But we were pretty happy that we didn't take any like we were only on ferries, bikes, and tram, like the little light rail.
No hitchhiking.
No hitchhiking.
This girl joking that she wanted to hitchhike. And I was like,
I never want to hitchhike. What are you talking about?
You know, I doubt you if you did. So yeah, plugging Back Alley Bike Repair in Seattle. They were super helpful. We actually, to be honest, kind of got a little messed up by REI. They told us they'd have bike boxes.
Yeah, REI,
and they did not.
Back Alley Bike Repair for the win.
Yep. So support local. You know, call your local bike shop. Or their local bike shop. And in fact, a guy on Bainbridge Island told us about this place.
Yeah, we got a recommendation from a random passerby.
Yeah, and so local bike shops typically have bike boxes, especially call ahead, so they don't just like chuck them in the recycle bin or chuck them in a dumpster right before you get there. So they set these aside for us. They even had packing materials. So we tried to, buy a couple things from them and support them because they were just super, super helpful. And like Laura said, they were close to the light rail.
Yep.
It was a bit of a haul getting our bikes it wasn't bad. It was like quarter mile. But
they are pretty heavy. I mean, bike boxes aren't the easiest thing to carry.
Yeah. So that was it. Then we were on the plane back home and forever in withdrawal until our next bike tour.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, stop presenting.
So I had one question pop up. What's your favorite piece of gear? Like most necessary, the one thing.
Favorite. Okay. For like trips in general.
No, just,
for this trip. Well, I love my Jetboil. So
I thought for sure you'd say the model. I'm surprised.
Okay. So I have to.
Or the latex bottle.
So I don't have it with me. I should have. So I have a model. It's MODL. This thing I got on Kickstarter. I love it, and I'm obsessed with it. I talk about it all the time.
Talks about it a lot.
It has a filter in it. I've like talked to the owners and I've told them, I'm like, you guys need to like get in the adventure cycling catalog because it's great. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot one more slide. I need to tell you something else. 1 second. I am going to present this last slide. Okay, so thank you, Adventure Cycling, for partnering with us and making this wonderful route. And they have this thing where you can try adventure cycling for 6 months. And Adventure Cycling is a nonprofit, so they are just doing the good work out there, making adventure cycling, bike touring, making it more accessible. And they do a lot of advocacy work, and they seriously do a ton to make all of this possible.
Awesome maps. So if you're just needing any kind of recommendation, they have some awesome bike touring maps.
Yep. And you can try them for 6 months free with this link. So if you just type this in, do the caps, capital ACA, try ACA. And you just type that in and it'll take you to the adventure cycling page and you can try 6 months. So well, you got that. I can type it in the chat as well, but I'm going to stop presenting so I can kind of jump in here. Yeah, so if you're able to unmute yourself and you want to ask us a question that way, you're welcome to, or in the chat is fine too. Otherwise, we're just going to keep talking for the next 12 minutes because we said an hour and we meant it. So,
okay, Mary, what was your favorite part?
I think just when Mount Rainier just like appeared out of nowhere. I mean, that was day one. And the whole trip was awesome, but like I can't get that out of my head.
I agree. Yeah, I think that and picking the fruits that were growing along the side of the road, just being provided to us.
You definitely liked all of the. Yeah. Q-Ina just joined. Q, we just got to our Q&A. So, Q, we did record this. It is still recording, so don't worry. you will be able to rewatch if you weren't able to join, or if anybody hopefully I got kicked out, or hopefully everyone was able to get in. But we should have this uploaded to YouTube so that it can just be enjoyed by the masses.
Great.
So you did need your filter. I did use it a couple times. How far between water sources? The campsites pretty much had water.
Yeah.
I did fill up a couple times.
Occasionally we'd stop at gas stations
on
the way, but we were never in a situation where we were running out of water.
Yeah, it wasn't too dire. And I mean, there were some hot days in the valley. There were some days where it got up to like 80s and 90s, which when you're in the saddle all day, it was
interesting to do a bike tour where you had a moment in snow, but then you also had a moment in like 90 degrees and sunny, and you have to put sunscreen on every 2 hours. Yeah. So we did have quite the range of weather.
Yes, we did. It was cool, but we really lucked out. I thought the Pacific Northwest was going to be a lot like rainier and wetter, but
we lucked out for sure.
Yeah,
we only had a few little rain patches.
And I think if you were on the Olympic Peninsula, you might have more rain.
Or if you're not in summertime.
Yeah.
Talk about what you packed.
Yes, so I did kind of travel a bit light. I used an Ortlieb waterproof seat pack for my rear end. Oh, we both had that. And then on the front, I had a salsa anything cradle. And one day you will, Q. I'm going to type that in there because we both used these packs.
I think the thing that kept us really light is that we usually only had about 1 day's worth of food. So we were, we had like enough to make one meal and maybe breakfast, but I think we carried 2 days worth of food, but we weren't carrying as much food as maybe you would on other tours where food isn't as accessible.
Yeah. And we weren't sure going into this how much would be open or like what all we'd find. So I know on some of my first tours, I would carry like a week's worth of food. Yeah, I was just like nervous about it, or I had to just get over that like initial bike touring feeling of just the vulnerability, I guess. So I carried way too much food in the beginning, and now that I have a few bike tours under my belt, I feel more comfortable just going a little bit more day by day. I know I have, enough food for the next like 24 hours, and you just kind of keep an eye out for what looks good.
Yep.
Definitely room for spontaneity there.
It worked really well for us.
Yeah. And then in terms of what we packed, we smelled bad the whole time because
I didn't smell bad.
She thinks she doesn't smell bad.
I said river baths.
River baths only do so much. So, yes, Brian, Adventure Cycling does have this route mapped out. It's called Washington Parks 2. So if you go to their website, you can get Washington Parks 1, which is the Olympic Peninsula, and the part that we did was the loop that goes into the interior, which is about, their loop is 500 miles, maybe 550.
Yeah.
And but we went from Seattle, so we added on at the beginning. And if you check out the recording of this, I kind of go over the map at the beginning of that. I'm sorry, I got distracted. We carried like an extra outfit. I usually bring like something to wear and a spare, like in terms of something I want to be biking in, whether you like biking in a kit or more like mountain biker clothes or just an old ratty t-shirt and shorts or whatever you want to tour in. I kind of have 2 biking outfits. I bring base layers to sleep in, and I bring something to like, put on like to go into dinner in town or something like that. So I am on Strava. Did someone ask that? Mike asked that. This is a person. Oh, for the route. So yes, I can send you my Strava maps if anyone wants my Strava maps. Laura is putting the link to the adventure cycling, which is most of our trip was on Washington Parks 2. And the rest we really just kind of figured out using Google Maps. So She's gonna put the link to the adventure cycling site into the chat.
So we each had one-person tents. They aren't bike packing specific, but they're both kind of backpacking smaller tents that don't take up much space.
Yes, I have the Big Agnes copper spur too. Well, actually, no, I brought the one person on this trip, and the poles are shorter, so it's bike packer specific, but really any kind of light tent would work.
I had the small.
Do you think you could hammock on this trip?
I don't think so. I think it's nice to have the flexibility of not having.
Well, I know some people are like really into hammocking, so I get that question sometimes, or I sometimes want to ask that. I don't know. I've done hammock tours. Yeah. So you could probably get away with hammocking. I would recommend one of those tents that does a hammock or a tent. They're convertible. They're really cool. So if you like hammocking, get one of those. I'm answering questions that aren't there. Okay. Q asked, what does food look like? Oh, Q, it's not like your food. It's not like the food that you cook. So
one night we had some gourmet tortellini. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So
just quick boil tortellini a few nights, and
it's shelf stable. So go to Aldi's if you have an Aldi's ALDI near you. They have a lot of like quick meals that you just like kind of boil in bag. And I'm vegetarian, so Laura had to eat a lot of vegetarian things.
And we had oatmeal for breakfast because it packs really small and is super energy dense.
Yeah. DIY oatmeal. Yeah. Very easy to do. Yeah. It's just like quick oats, brown sugar.
The one thing we kept buying was jars of peanut butter. And so we would have a jar of peanut butter and we would just like
eat it with a spoon.
Eat a spoon and bowl every once in a while.
So I don't know. I am just like calories. I don't really worry about like carbs versus, I just go with whatever my cravings are, I guess. My body is like, you need this. I'm like, okay. Yep. So, how long before a ride? Ooh, I'm really lucky I don't have a sensitive stomach. I just eat.
Yeah.
Constantly.
I think we were just constantly eating the whole time.
Yeah, like the whole time. I don't think, we never had an upset stomach.
No, we were good.
Yeah. Yeah, don't eat too much dried fruit. Speaking from experience, don't worry about it. Thank you. I love these earrings.
What we did with oatmeal was we just kind of made it ourselves. So we would just take dried oats and mix it with fruits, and we just put it in little plastic bags, and then we would mix it with hot water and have some gourmet oatmeal.
Great question about the battery packs. So this is my battery pack. It's this big.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a brick.
But it lasts a long time.
It lasts a really long time. And we were able to charge these in some of the state parks. You can just like plug it in and hope no one steals it overnight. This cost about $45 on Amazon. So I just put like a curse on it if anyone stole it. And then we're just gonna have bad luck the rest of their vacation. So that was my tactic. But I just left it in overnight to charge because these usually take a while to charge, and then you're good for like 3 or 4 days probably.
And since our phones are mostly on airplane mode, because we had the route kind of on maps and knew our way, we weren't.
Yeah, you had a Garmin.
I had a Garmin, and we also had the paper map version of the route. Yeah.
So, but I just use my phone. I don't have a Garmin. I just use my phone for like everything. So
yeah. So maybe you were a little more reliable.
Yeah, but I use my phone.
You use your phone, yeah.
I'm like constantly charging it. So yeah.
So overall, would highly recommend 10 out of 10 for Washington.
Oh, so the oatmeal. Can you look up like a recipe real quick while I'm talking about this? So let me talk about oatmeal. So you just need like quick cook oats. I can't. Seriously, you just make it up. You just pour it in. Camping oatmeal recipe. Okay. Well, I guess I can tell you Google this.
Every berry.
But
what do you want to put in your oatmeal?
Okay. There's 3 of us here in this room. I'm sorry if this presentation is getting out of hand. Okay. Quick cook oats. Cocoa powder, brown sugar. You could do dried fruit. You could do nuts. You can kind of mix in
Coconut?
Depending on how sweet I like mine really sweet. I'm like a sugar holic. So that one, send that one. I think I've used that one before actually. If you have fresh fruit, you can get as fancy as you want with it. But even if you just had quick cook oats and like brown sugar and some nuts, or any kind of sweetener. We stirred in peanut butter to ours. So you just boil water and you stir it in and it's ready in like a couple minutes. You might let it sit for a couple minutes to like let it fluff up. And that's really it. I used instant oatmeal for the longest time. So now I'm like, make your own oatmeal. It's so easy. I wish I'd known. Were there other people? Good question. Do we need other people?
We saw some bike tours in Cascades.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on the northern part of this loop, it's actually part of the northern tier, which goes all across the U.S. So we did see some people going in the other direction, like loaded down with their panniers, and I was like, oh yeah, he's doing a COVID cross country tour. So that was cool.
Were there any long stretches or bike paths or all roads? Yeah. So we were about 90% roads, and then we were on gravel for about maybe 5%, and then that other like 5% maybe bike paths. There was a lot of bike paths in Seattle and a lot of bike paths in like the Sedro-Woolley area. And so we did get some good bike path time, but mostly we were on some of the back roads.
Yeah, good question. You are going to be on roads on this trip. I've done like the Pittsburgh to DC route, where that's like all on trails and completely car free. And then another one that's really good. I'm just mentioning this because I know some people like want to dip their toe into bike touring and they're not ready to go on roads. I have some friends who will hopefully watch this video. And if that's you, then look into the Pittsburgh to DC, that's the Gap and the CNO, and look up the Erie, Erie Canal route is a really family-friendly one across the U.S. All right, gear question. So like Laura said, the Salsa Anything cradle kind of hooks onto your, clamps onto your handlebars like this, like a snowplow.
Here's the handlebar.
It keeps all your...
No,
like this is your stuff.
Oh, that's the stuff.
Okay. So this is your stuff, and this is, I'm the bike. I am the bike.
Okay.
And holds your stuff off of your bars. So you're keeping it off of your shifting.
And off your tires, which is more.
Yeah. And if you can find it, buy one, because I think they're out of production currently.
Really?
Yeah, they like stopped making them. It's crazy. Oh. So find one on eBay, like now, go.
Yeah.
And
essential.
Very essential. They just keep everything tucked in, and it comes with a waterproof bag that's really good. And you can just hold a lot. It's really comfortable in terms of like the handling on your handlebars, and just I really like that piece of gear. So I guess that was an earlier question too. And Laura might be able to link if she can. Can you find it on the internet? It says out of stock, right? We're like shopping while we do this. So yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Well, any other questions? Otherwise, thanks for joining.
This guy did, Brian did it fully supported. That sounds cool. Yes. Oh, yes.
That's awesome.
Also does tours. So, and I have done the leadership training with adventure cycling. So I feel like I need to put in a plug here.
Yeah.
They have tours all the way from fully like self-contained tours, which is like what we did, where you're with a group and you get to share gear, but you don't have a van following you or anything. And then they have like the whole range of things on their website. If you look under tours and you want to go with a group of people, or you just want to maybe get more comfortable with bike touring, definitely check them out. They're an awesome organization. And yeah, so what Brian's talking about is they have some fully supported and van supported tours where you don't have to carry your stuff. So if you're not into carrying your stuff, then no worries. There's a tour for you. It's out there. Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks for joining and listening to us.
Yeah, great.
It was so much fun.
We did it in 1 hour and 3 minutes.
Awesome.
Great. Super duper. Well, I guess I will stop recording. So
have a good night.